Hey everybody, what's going on? Hexlex here. I've got another Master Duel video for you all. So today we're coming once again back to Bystial Spright Synchro. Of course, my favorite, the standby. Still having a lot of fun with this deck. Still in the Ringo Worm / Dispater waiting room. I'll say a million times, as I've said it before, this deck is already really good, in my opinion, and I think it does get a lot more cracked once once some other support comes out. Chaos Angel as well. Just generally light and dark synchro-based stuff coming out in future sets that I'm very much looking forward to. I recently posted a combo guide for this deck as it was relatively highly requested here on the channel, and the build has not changed too much from that, so don't worry. We have changed, I think, a total of 3 cards, 2 in the main deck and 1 in the extra deck. Just a couple of things that I wanted to try out. The main things that changed are in the main deck. We put in a second Caligo Crow, as well as a Spright Smashers. I took out one of the Sharngas for the second Crow, and then one of the Imperms for the Smashers. Both of these additions are actually a result of me playing a lot of games with this deck and finding that with my last build, there were some times where I just didn't have anything to search with certain cards. Cupid Pitch was the big one. Before, the only target that we had was one single Caligo Crow. So now we're playing a second, because sometimes you either, of course, can open the Caligo Crow, but it's also not uncommon to find it off of Chaos Ruler, and because Cupid Pitch is mandatory, when Cupid Pitch and Chaos Ruler are on the same chain link, Cupid Pitch is always going to be chain link 1, Chaos Ruler is always chain link 2. So it was just getting a little bit frustrating, right? Activating Chaos Ruler on chain link 2, finding the Caligo Crow, and then being like, well, okay, I guess my Cupid Pitch isn't resolving or adding anything now. You might be wondering, why a second Caligo Crow? Why not Nemesis Corridor and Thunder Dragon Colossus? I did consider that. I did definitely consider that, but I've tested Nemesis Corridor and Colossus in the past, not only in this deck, but also in Spright Punk, which had played very, very similarly to this deck. And in both instances, and I've said this before because I do still occasionally see comments asking about this in this deck, why no Nemesis Corridor, why no Thunder Dragon Colossus if you're playing Cupid Pitch? It's just to win more. It's a combination of it's to win more, because you pretty much always want to be searching a Caligo Crow for your combo line, and also opening Nemesis Corridor feels terrible. It really does. Like, it doesn't do anything in your hand. We don't really have a dedicated normal summon, but we don't need one either. So like normal summoning, it just doesn't really ever do anything, even as like a level 4 body. And yeah, I mean, it's really only useful for being searched off of Cupid Pitch when you are specifically in a situation where you don't need Caligo Crow, which isn't like uncommon, but it doesn't happen all the time by any means. Caligo Crow is also, just as I alluded to before, like way better to open with. That's actually the main factor that made me decide to play the Crow over the Nemesis Corridor. It's like, you know, I would literally always rather open Crow over Corridor. Also, you can't find a Nemesis Corridor off of Chaos Ruler because it's wind. But here, you know, we can still find a Caligo Crow off of Ruler and then add another one off of Cupid Pitch. Being level 2 is super duper relevant. Being a level 2 that can summon itself while you have any dark is super relevant. There's a lot of times where you'll have just like a random Bystial and then like a Spright monster in your hand. And Caligo Crow is the perfect way to bridge that, of course, on top of its main function of bridging the Chaos Ruler into the Spright line as well. You could play more Shinobi Necros if you wanted to, and I thought about trying those over maybe another Sharnga or 2, playing more copies of the Shinobi Necro. That would indeed make the extra deck change that I have here, which is I added Salamangreat Almiraj. That would make that a little bit better as well. Almiraj is mainly here for if we open something like Shinobi Necro and a Bystial monster, then we can normal the Necro, link it off for Almiraj, banish the Shinobi Necro for our Bystial monster, and then from there you can go into your Chaos Ruler. Also does work, you can make Almiraj if you open like Maxx, Sharnga, or Caligo Crow. Opening it with Maxx, that doesn't really do anything. If you open Sharnga plus Crow, though, as well as a Bystial monster, you, again, at least have a way to summon your Bystial monster in that regard. Again, the addition of Almiraj does kind of make me want to try a second Shinobi Necro as well. I would play those over Sharnga. The thing is, though, I do like Sharnga's ability to special summon itself. I think that's super duper good and makes it slightly better than extra copies of Shinobi Necro. And then this isn't actually a reason, in my opinion, but incidentally, you can still make the Blackwing full Armor Master as well if you play the Sharnga, of course. Oh, and then Smashers. Yeah, Spright Smashers was the other change that I made here. My main, honestly, like motivation here was, again, wanting more things to search, right? There's a lot of time where you'll have Jet, but you already have open to the Spright Starter, or like, you know, you have Starter in your hand and you're doing your Bystial, or not Bystial, your Chaos Ruler combo line, and then you find like a blue. Then the Jet search becomes a little bit awkward because it's just an extra starter, but the Smashers not only gives us something extra to search, but also can act as an extra piece of disruption. The thing I don't like about it is that drawing it feels pretty abysmal. It's really not that handy most of the time, and really mostly, again, just exists to give us something else to search off the Jet. But I figured I'd go ahead and give it a shot. It's not like I've hated it so far, but it's not been like particularly like great. Or like a particularly standout card, but I'm still just going to be testing it, seeing how I feel about just having an extra Spright card to search in general there. So those are the changes to the deck. Although it's only 3 cards, I do think it is still enough to warrant some amount of discussion over, or I think that anyway, again, because I love this deck so much. But we're going to be seeing some games here with this particular iteration. I'm just going to go ahead and break it down card by card first, so we all know what's going on with the deck, and then we'll go into those games. We're playing 3 Maxx, 2 Blackwing Sharnga, the Waning Moon, 2 Caligo Clawcrow, 1 Shinobi Necro, 2 Spright Blue, 2 Spright Jet, 1 Spright Red, 1 Spright Carrot, 3 Assault Synchron, 3 Ash Blossom and a Joyous Spring, 1 Bystial Magnamhut, 3 Bystial Saronir, 1 Bystial Druiswarm, 1 Bystial Baldrake, 3 the Bystial Lubellion, 3 Tuning, 1 Pot of Prosperity, 2 Call by the Grave, 2 Spright Starter, 1 Spright Smashers, and 2 Infinite Impermanence. There's our main deck. For the extra deck, we are on 1 Cupid Pitch, 1 Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, 1 Accel Synchro Stardust Dragon, 1 Blackwing Full Armor Master, 1 Baronne de Fluer, 1 Swordsoul Supreme Sovereign Chengying, 1 Gigantic Spright, 1 number 38 Hope Harbinger Titanic Galaxy, 1 Salamangreat Almiraj, 1 IP Masquerena, 2 Spright Elf, 1 Spright Sprind, 1 Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avermax, and then 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. That's going to go ahead and do it for our list. Now let's look at some gameplay here. Alright, this first game I'm going to show off will be up against, it looks to be like a purely OTK Sky Striker deck, is the best way I can describe it, because it is playing a bunch of Sky Striker stuff, although they made me go second. That's really odd. Okay, now I'm actually trying to figure out what my opponent was trying to do here, because the way their deck is built, it's Sky Strikers, but they're playing stuff like Toon Table of Contents and Toon World, One Day of Peace, so, but they don't seem to be playing like any kind of obvious win condition, so I'm guessing their win condition is the 3 linkage for the Sky Striker 8,000 damage OTK, but that's just really weird because they're playing stuff like Raigekis and Dark Holes, but they made me go first, which I would think if you're playing that and playing a deck like this, you would always want to go second, but we'll definitely take it. We'll also definitely fire off a Maxx during our opponent's draw phase there. They're actually going to chain the Sky Striker Mecha Hornet drones, so going to be dodging a draw that way, but we managed to play around the triple tack all the same. Main reason we fire off Maxx during the draw phase there. Might seem a bit niche to always play Maxx in the draw phase for that reason, but with 39% of people on triple tack, that is the usage rate, yeah, that's enough to make me want to pretty much always Maxx during the draw phase. Opponent's going to try to use the Sky Striker Engage Mobilize. I'm going to Ash Blossom that. End phase, are going to find a linkage off of that Shizuku before passing back over to me here. So I'm going to start with Bystial Lubellion, see if my opponent has an Ash Blossom before I fire off the Pot of Prosperity. I'm going to banish 3. The 3 I'm banishing are Hope, Harbinger, Elf, and Full Armor Master. I think banishing the Full Armor Master and the second Spright Elf are generally safe options. And if you're not going first, like, you'll pretty much never summon Hope Harbinger unless it's your first turn. So this, if you're not going first, or even if it's not your first turn in general, I think is usually a pretty safe bet to banish off of the Prosperity there. In any case, going to grab ourselves this Spright Red here. Specialing the Saronir, normaling Maxx, and then specialing the Spright Red. That looks really weird, but the normaling of the Maxx will allow me to go into Spright Sprind while still holding the red up on the board. This allows me to chain block the Sprind mill that will send to the Shinobi Necro, and I still have a Bystial Magnamhut in my hand that can banish that Shinobi Necro, and then I'll make a Chaos Ruler that way. So this line, again, by normal summoning the Maxx there, we get to keep up a live Spright Red pretty much the whole time here. Alright, Chaos Ruler is coming down, activating the effect for the Excavate. Really looking for, there it is, Assault Synchron there. If you don't open with Assault Synchron, that's pretty much always the thing you really want to see off of the Chaos Ruler there, as that will not only to allow you to very easily go into the Baronne, but then also from there allow you to go into, or rather bring back the Chaos Ruler later in the turn. This is another reason why I think my opponent's on an OTK build, is that they're playing stuff like Threatening Roar, which if they weren't trying to OTK, I don't really know why they would have a card like that, but that's totally fine. So we can't battle this turn. That means we're just going to go for more of like a quote-unquote turn 1 setup. Of course, had I known my opponent's back row was going to be Threatening Roar, I would not have banished the Hope Harbinger off of the Pot of Prosperity, especially being against Sky Striker. I would have definitely gone out of my way to try to make Hope Harbinger here. But again, I thought the duel was ending on this turn, so that's why I did not, you know, try to save the Hope Harbinger there. But that's fine. We have a red negate, we have a carrot negate, we have a Baronne negate, as well as a Bystial Baldrake and a Called By for our opponent's 4-card hand here. So we hopefully shouldn't have too much trouble finding you know, live plays here. Opponent's going to try to evenly us. I'm going to use the Carrot, sacking off the Jet. Again, evenly. Another card that makes you think my opponent should be pretty much always going second here. Yep, following up with the Raigeki. Going to use the Baronne to stop that. Opponent's got a Widow Anchor to chain, though, so that means I am going to end up losing my board in this situation. It looks like they are following up with the Linkage here. Of course, they've already, you know, gone through their battle phase, so no need to fear losing this turn or anything, but we are going to lose our board. So like I said, annoying, but not the end of the world. Kagari is going to get to grab the Mobilize Engage here. This is also annoying, but not the end of the world. They get a draw and a search. Looks like they're going to search their Widow Anchor. Makes sense that they would want to just negate my stuff on this follow-up turn here. And that is presumably going to be the card they set there as well. Shizuku is going to go ahead and grab the Afterburners here before our opponent passes back over to us. Top decking Imperm, not really going to do a whole lot for us here, but we do have the Chaos Ruler in our yard, so I'm just going to go ahead and summon that. I did think about putting Branded Regained in the deck instead of the Spright Smashers, actually. That was another kind of search target that I was thinking about, even though I've said multiple times you don't need the Branded Regained. It does still offer some potential usefulness there. I'm going to link into an IP Masquerade, mostly just to make use of this Assault Synchron and bring back my Chaos Ruler once again. I want to make sure that's going to be hitting the graveyard. The IP Masquerade also makes the Spright Smashers here alive as well. An opponent's going to Afterburners, targeting the IP. I'm going to chain Smashers. Opponent will allow it to resolve. That's going to let me go ahead and get rid of their face down card, which I know is probably, yeah, going to be the Widow Anchor there. Our opponent's got a Raigeki for our Chaos Ruler. Thankfully, we brought it back with Assault Synchron, so it's going back into the graveyard. And opponent's just going to pass back over to us. Top decking a Bystial Lubellion. We're going to activate that to find a Bystial monster. In between that Bystial monster, opponent's got an Ash Blossom. We have a Call By face down, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, between this Bystial monster we're about to find and the Chaos Ruler, we finally have enough damage to finish our opponent off here. And we even had an Imperm left over to spare. So yeah, I don't know. I've been saying it all game, but I really don't know why my opponent went first here. I think this duel would have gone a lot better for them, probably, if they had gone second. Like, I'm just trying to think about, like, I'm thinking about that last turn, right? Where they had to go to battle phase in order to use evenly. Actually, if you're an OTK deck, you probably shouldn't be using evenly to clear either. Now that I think about it, you should probably be using Lightning Storm and Dark Hole and Raigeki. But, yeah, I mean, if they had had, like, Dark Hole plus Raigeki, to stop, like, the Carrot, and evenly, they needed 3 things there, that's right, to stop the Carrot and the Baronne. I don't know, I feel like if they had gone second, that things probably would have gone a lot smoother for them, but In any case, you know, we'll definitely take it. We did have to play through a bunch of board wipes, and we did eventually get our board wiped, but mostly thanks to the recursion power of Chaos Ruler in this deck in particular, we were still able to come out on top. We do still, of course, have a few more games to go into, so let's jump straight into the next one here. Alright, this next one is going to be against Spright. This should be another going second game, actually, if I recall correctly. And I was looking at the date of this replay. This might have actually been before I made certain adjustments to the deck here, the ones I outlined in the deck profile, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to start by firing off Maxx during my opponent's draw phase. The opponent's going to try to chain a Spright Starter, but I'm going to Ash Blossom it. That looks a little bit weird, right? But, you know, it's not like we're going to get the draw off the summon anyway. And against Sprites, Starter is probably just the best thing you can Ash Blossom. Because, like, yeah, you could hit Blue, Jet, or Gigantic, but hitting one of those is really not going to stop their line at all. But if you Ash Blossom the Starter, there's always the chance that they will not be able to find their any more plays after that. They might not have any more like Spright monsters in hand or something. So, gonna tuning for who else but Assault Synchron. Special this Caligo Claw Crow going into the Cupid Pitch. I'm pretty sure this game was before I put in the second Caligo Claw Crow, and it wasn't just this one game that made me want to do it either. This happened a lot. This happened when I was getting games for the last video. The first video this season I posted this deck is really when I noticed it a lot. So we are playing into Maxx here, going to give my opponent a ton of draws, but that's fine. We have the ability to attack, so I'm just going to try to find lethal, and something, Nibiru isn't real if you don't think about it, so going to be banking on that to cope, basically. I'm just coping. Yeah, I didn't find anything off this Cupid Pitch, so this was before I put in a second Caligo Claw Crow. How good would that have been, though, that second Crow? I would have been able to special it and then special a Spright Blue instead of having to normal it in order to make the Sprint here. Opponent's going to imperm this Sprind. That's a huge blow, actually, because now I don't know that I have enough damage necessarily to find lethal here. I'm going to bring back the Chaos Ruler and then summon the Bystial Lubellion that's in my graveyard, and then use Assault Synchron to bring back Chaos Ruler again. And if I'd had Shinobi Necro, like, even that extra 800 damage alone would have been enough to find lethal, but now here I'm going to have to move to battle phase, and unfortunately I'm going to ultimately leave my opponent at only 300 life points. Did not think I had another way to find an extra 300 there. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to link off for the IP Masquerade and pass back over to my opponent. They have a ton of cards in hand, so I'm just going to have to hope that they don't have an out to IP plus Aver, or into Avermax, rather. Thankfully for me, they actually lead with the Imperm. I think they're, well, to be fair, they really wouldn't have had many other opportunities to play Imperm. So, yeah, I don't actually blame my opponent for that, really. But I'm going to go into the Avermax here. And now, like I said, I'm just going to have to sit and hope that they don't have an out to Avermax, but it's Spright. So, like, they have Smashers, right? So, but thankfully for me, ooh, that's a yikes, yeah. I'm not going to pretend that I've never made this mistake before. I think I might have even done it during an MCS once. No. Somebody did it against me in an MCS, but I have done it on ladder a couple of times where you activate Starter, because here's the thing. Cards that make you pay life points, you can't activate them if you don't have that amount, but that's the thing about Starter. Starter doesn't make you pay anything. It just makes you take damage after you summon the monster. So, unfortunately for my opponent, they did not have the required 1,100 life points for their Spright Blue, and they're ultimately going to end up losing there. But yeah, my opponent had it, to be fair. They just had to jet for Smashers and or make their own Avermax. Either would have outed mine. But hey, we'll definitely take any W's we can get, right? We do have a couple more games to watch. Let's go straight to the next one here. Okay, this one's going to be against Adamancipator. It is a 40-card iteration of Adamancipator. That's also running the Earth Barrier statue. It's an interesting tech choice. I don't think it's a bad one by any means, but I don't think it's one I would necessarily go for in a 40-card deck myself. Going to be taking the second turn here. It's a little bit rough, given that we're 1 against Adamantipator, and 2, don't open a Disruption in our hand, so we're just going to have to sit here and hope our opponent does not do too much against us. Looks like they're going to Researcher for the Supplier. Supplier is going to add them to Quackhammer Guardian, and then they're going for Barkion. Opponent's not on the Raptite. I think it's because they're playing Verduselfs as well, but I think even if you're going to be playing Verduselfs, you do still want to be on Raptite for pretty much this exact reason. So, I'm going to start with a Tuning, even though, again, I already have Assault Synchron and Tuning in hand, for the exact reason of what my opponent just did here. They still Ash Blossomed the Tuning. You should never Ash Blossom a Tuning, also, I think, period. Like, if you're up against this deck, there are better Ash Blossom targets, and if you're up against actual Synchrons, you want to use the Ash Blossom on their Junk Speeder. But here I'm not going to be playing into my opponent's Maxx, which looks a little bit weird, right? Like, normally I don't play into normally I do play into Maxx if I'm going second specifically. But here I did not, and the reason mostly that I didn't is because if you actually look at what's in my hand, it's actually not very conducive for making combos. The Sharnga, the Assault Synchron, and the Carrot, you really want a level 2 tuner and 2 level 2 non-tuners. Having 2 level 2 tuners is awkward because I can't really go into Cupid Pitch here, because then I'd have Cupid Pitch plus another tuner. So, the fact that I thought I was going to have a hard time finding lethal in general, but it also being under Maxx means I'm just going to stop. I'm not going to give my opponent any other draws. Plus, it's pretty clear my opponent's hand is not that great. Just how they ended last turn. So it was a combination of all 3 of those factors, which made me specifically not play under Maxx here. Now, in this case, we've drawn a Bystial monster, so now I know I have plays with this Cupid Pitch. I'm going to start by specialing the Sharnga and then specialing the Carrot, using those to go into Cupid Pitch before summoning the Baldrake. Mainly just trying to feel out and see if my opponent has pretty much any amount of disruption here. I know they can't imperm, so I'm not concerned about that. But I want to make sure they just didn't have another Maxx, because if your opponent doesn't have a lot of like plays in hand, then they probably have a lot of disruption. Either that or they just open terribly. It looks like here, thankfully, my opponent just opened it terribly. But I'm thinking to myself, you know, it's not hard for my opponent to have another Maxx here, so I just want to make sure that's not going to be the case before I fully commit into my line. But by this point, I'm very certain they're not going to have anything. So, gonna go for the Chaos Ruler, using the Assault Synchron to make a Baronne. Now I can go ahead and drop this Chaos Ruler here. And at this point, like, I don't even really need that much else here, right? Like, I'm gonna make the Shinobi Necro and summon the Druiswarm. Even though I could use Baronne, just pop the Barkion and move to battle phase. I'm still gonna play, assuming maybe my opponent has something here, and getting at least a few more things on the board before I just, again, move to battle phase. I at least want to just make use of my Druiswarm, which I do by making Accel Stardust. I actually don't have a level 2 tuner in my grave. I should have checked that first, but it's ultimately not going to matter, as, yeah, I have enough damage on board for lethal, and my opponent concedes anyway. I do still have one more game for us to see, so let's go straight into it here. Okay, this game's against Swordsoul, and it's only 1 turn. So I'm trying to remember, like, did I just save the wrong duel here? Let me actually see if this is actually worth showing. If it is, you'll just be hearing this in the video and I'll keep it. But if not, then I'll just cut straight to the next game. So, looks like we had a really strong opening here going first. Gonna start with, of course, Tuning, even though I already have Assault Synchron. Building a Caligo Claw Crow, it's a good thing we do have a second copy in there. Prosperity is going to banish Full Armor Master, the second elf, and this time instead of Harbinger, I banished the Almiraj, just because I already know I didn't open the, the Shinobi Necro, so I know I'm not going to need it. Whereas Hope Harbinger, you know, it is my turn 1, so there's a decent shot I'll still make it. Going to be going for my Cupid Pitch here and syncing that with the Saronir. This makes my favorite Chain Link of the entire deck. Chain Link 1 Cupid Pitch, Chain Link 2 Chaos Roar, Chain Link 3 Saronir. Gets us a lot of searches, sets up a lot of stuff in grave, and also chain blocks the Chaos Roar to ensure that Ash Blossom will not be messing it up. So, Saronir is going to send the Lubellion. Chaos Roar is going to do some excavating. We've already hit another Saronir, if nothing else. Oh, and we also get to send the Shinobi Necro and add the Spright Blue. This does a lot here. This means that with the Caligo Clawcrow, we no longer have to make Sprind. Sprind literally only exists to send the Shinobi Necro, so if you excavate it with the Chaos Ruler and send it to grave that way, you do not need to go out of your way to make Sprind. What we can do instead is, I'm going to special the Assault Synchron here, and then just sync straight for the Baronne de Fluer. Going to set up an Omni-Negate very early into our combo. The Shinobi Necro is going to get banished now alongside Cupid Pitch to bring out the Chaos Ruler. Shinobi Necro will bring itself back, and then as long as I have a level 2 monster on the board, I'm just going to quickly summon the Spright Blue and make that as well. I'm going to sack off the Chaos Ruler in order to bring out the Bystial Lubellion. That'll still trigger the Assault Synchron in order to bring back the Chaos Ruler. Opponent's going to Baldrake. Weird timing for that. They really should have done that a long time ago with the first time the Chaos Ruler hit the graveyard and banished that. But here I'm just going to pop the Baldrake with the Baron, and then my opponent's just going to concede. Yeah, from there, I mean, we had a lot of stuff still to make. Could have overlaid the Lubellion and Chaos Ruler into the Hope Harbinger, then used the Blue and Shinobi Necro to make... Actually, we could have even made Spright Elf, then used Elf. Actually, we could have made Spright Elf, used Elf to bring back a 2, made a Gigantic with 3200 attack, although that doesn't really accomplish much of anything. So it definitely would have been better to go Shinobi Necro plus Blue into the Gigantic. Gigantic detached to... We already have... yeah, we already have Jet in hand, so... Gigantic detaches in order to bring out a Carrot. We can then special the Jet. Jet adds Starter or Smashers. Starter, actually, so that way we can get the red. Yeah, and then we just make an Elf with the Gigantic and the Jet. Carrot for red, and then, or sorry, Starter for red. And then we have access to Spright Red, Spright Carrot, Hope Harbinger, Baron, Elf. Might have even been able to throw an IP Masquerena somewhere in there too, because we definitely still would have had at least the Caligo Clawcrow. It's a cool thing about this deck. Hands like that are where we can definitely just pop off and make whatever kind of an end board we want. But that's going to go ahead and do it for these games. Hope you all enjoyed them. Let's move now to our outro.
Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me. Not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack. You'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, you know, it's not just a pure donation. You do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now. So without further ado, this is Xlex. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.